In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve a quadratic by factoring. And so I want to talk about the 3 steps that are up here at the top of the page. It says set your equation equal to 0, and we want to make sure that we have standard form or factored form equal to 0. And if it's not already factored for you, because notice how there are a couple here that are factored for us already, then we will just set our factors equal to 0. But if it's not factored for us, we have to factor and then set our equations equal to 0. So my favorite kind of solving is factored form here when it is already factored, because it's actually very quick and easy to solve. So set each factor equal to 0, and we're going to get 2 locations for our x-intercepts. So if I set the factor x plus 9 equal to 0, and I solve for my x, one of my solutions is going to be -9, and my second factor of x minus 1, if we set that equal to 0 and we add 1 to both sides, we will get a solution of 1. And so the 2 solutions of -9 and 1 are going to be here on my picture, and then over here at -9. And so roughly, not perfectly, but roughly, your parabola should go in between, right? It should land in between those 2 x-intercepts. So there should be a parabola shape, a U shape, and it will cross the x-axis at those 2 places. Now there are more details to how to graph that specifically, but just kind of basic format, that's where I'm going to start here in this video. And now for another example here with factored form, again, set each factor equal to 0. So my factor of x minus 4, we'll set that equal to 0, and we'll add 4 to both sides. So one solution is 4. And then I'm going to set my other factor also equal to 0 and solve for my x, and I'll get another solution. So 2 solutions, one of them will be one intercept at 4, 0, so an x-intercept at 4, and another one at -3, 0. And so here I'll put my point there. Now again, roughly, I'm not graphing this perfectly, but roughly our parabola should land in between and cross through those intercepts. Okay, now let's do a couple where you have to actually factor the function and then set your factors equal to 0. So I have ax squared plus bx plus c, or 1x squared plus 5x minus 14. How you factor when you have a front term of 1 is you want to look at numbers that multiply to make -14 and add to make 5. So multiply to make -14 and add to make 5. And so -14, factors that multiply there would be 1 and -14, -1 and 14, 2 and -7, -2 and +7. And the factors that will add to make 5 would be these 2 here. So my factors are x with a -2 and an x with a +7. And those 2 factors will set equal to 0. And I get a solution here of 2 when I add 2 over. And if x plus 7 equals 0 and I subtract 7 over, I get -7. And so here, I'm going to plot an x-intercept at 2 and then at -7. And my parabola should go in between there. And then here's one more. But notice this is not set equal to 0. So what we need to do is first set our function equal to 0 by subtracting that 15 over to the other side. So we have x squared plus 2x minus 15 now equal to 0. So what 2 numbers multiply to make 15 and add to make 2? Can you think of those 2 numbers? If you need to, make a list. And off to the side, we could do that real quick. 1 times -15. -1 times +15, 5 times -3, and -5 times 3. And the pair that will equal +2 when we add will be a +5 and a -3 for our factors. And so set each factor equal to 0. If we subtract 5, one of my x-intercepts will be -5. And then x minus 3 equal to 0. If I add 3 to both sides, I get another solution of 3. So at -5 and at +3, we have our 2 intercepts. And roughly, not perfectly, but roughly, that's what our shape would be. And in the rest of my class today, we're just going to be practicing. We're not going to be graphing the rest, but feel free to try a couple. You know, I'll leave the video here if you want to pause it and practice some problems, you can, but make sure you always have your function set equal to 0. So you're going to have to move some terms here to make your function equal to 0 before you factor and solve. And generally, that's what your pictures will look like.